Previously on Comic Class. And now the exciting continuation of Comic Class. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to another episode of Comic Class, the show every single week on this channel where we just geek out on comic books. And a couple weeks ago, Marvel made their announcement of Marvel Fresh Start, their newest relaunch, the second one in less than a year, and I couldn't really take it anymore. We have seen so many freaking relaunches and renumberings from Marvel over the past couple years that this was the one that broke me. Just the announcement about this alone forced me to come on here and basically just let you know I don't know if I can do this anymore. I can't keep up with Marvel just doing this over and over and over again. But at the same time, I did say in that video, yeah, Marvel does kind of need something right now. Marvel, their books, they've got a lot of really good books out there, but their main books, like say Avengers, X-Men, all those titles, they've been kind of stale. Like, it's all their unique indie stuff that they've been doing that's been really fascinating and really good. But their big superhero stuff, that is what most people know Marvel for, that hasn't been that interesting. So they do need to get those creative juices flowing again. They do need to move some of these writers around, take some writers off books that they've been on for years and aren't really that interesting anymore, and put someone brand new on there who could liven that book up. And the only book that we had heard announced so far when I made that video was that Jason Aaron was going to be on the Avengers, and I looked at that and I went, oh, that's actually perfect. And Ed McGuinness is going to be the artist? Oh, he is actually a great fit for that title. I still don't want another freaking relaunch. But if you are going to relaunch this, might as well address a lot of the problems that you've had with your writers and get some new energy on these books and actually make it something really interesting. And since I made that initial video, we have now gotten 14 more titles announced. And honestly, yeah, it looks pretty darn good. So today on Comic Class, it is part one of our look at all the titles that have been announced for Marvel Fresh Start. And we're going to be looking at the 15 titles that have been announced so far. Now, I had some people contact me on Twitter already saying, yeah, this isn't that big of a relaunch. They've only announced a couple of books. Guys, Marvel has been doing this for literally years. This is what they do. They do not announce all their books all at once. It will announce a month's worth of books all at once. Then when it gets to the end of the next month, they will announce that month's worth of brand new books. So I will be coming back in here next month when we have gotten an entire new batch of 14, 15, however many books they end up announcing to talk about, and I will give you my thoughts on those titles as well. And I will keep doing that until all this news kind of dies out. And then when the books actually start coming out, I will then come in here and give you my thoughts on the actual end products. Everybody good? Cool. Let's begin. Now, the first two books, I'm going to run through them pretty quickly because I've kind of already talked about them before. First one is The Avengers by Jason Aaron and Ed McGuinness. This is a fantastic team to put on this book. Ed McGuinness understands how to draw big superhero action, which Marvel hasn't really had those artists on the Avengers book for a while. Like they had Mike Del Mundo on there for a while. Mike Del Mundo is one of the best artists in the business, but he doesn't really do big superhero action. He more does dark noir stuff or really trippy magical stuff, neither one of which are things I think of when I go to the Avengers. Ed McGuinness, on the other hand, he draws big superheroes punching each other. Also, I really dig this lineup of characters that they have. I feel weird about Ghost Rider being on there because I kind of dig Ghost Rider off doing his own thing, and the moment that you put someone on the Avengers, they're no longer doing their own thing. They're now a part of the big superhero team. However, this is going to follow up Marvel Legacy, which set up this idea that there is some giant evil celestial buried in the earth and it is coming back to life, and now you need all these people who are linked in some way to the original heroes who fought him during Caveman times, and there was a Ghost Rider fighting him in Caveman times, and Robbie Reyes is linked to him, so it does make sense. Even though it's weird for me to see him on the team, I understand it. Also, Jason Aaron is going to be writing this book. Jason Aaron has yet to do anything that I haven't really enjoyed. Jason Aaron is one of my go-to top tier writers out there, And that is something that Marvel needed to do with Marvel Fresh Start. When Bendis left Marvel, so many people pointed at Marvel and said, oh my god, who do they even have over there anymore? That was their only real big guy. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? They have so many amazing writers working there, and honestly, most Marvel fans kind of stopped enjoying Bendis' stuff a while ago, so this isn't even really a bad thing for us. Seeing Bendis go is kind of like that scene in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Stop, don't come back.
So I feel like one of the things that Marvel had to do with Marvel Fresh Start is they had to remind people, we have big name writers working for us. We have some really solid talent here, and most of the people who I've seen assigned to these books, I look at and go, oh, yeah, those are your big name guys. Those are some really talented writers that you have working for you. So putting Aaron on the Avengers, it was a great way to kick all this off. Next up is Black Panther. Black Panther, it is still being written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Yeah, man, do not take Ta-Nehisi Coates off this book. Black Panther is one of those characters who, when you find a writer who really knows that character and really is able to write him well, you back the fudge up and you let him do what he wants to do, and you let him stay on that book for as long as it sells, and as long as he wants to be on there, and both those things are still happening, so Marvel is letting him stay on the book. Fine, cool, great. And this is going to have to deal a lot with Black Panther going off into space, which was something that was teased during Marvel Legacy. It's so weird that so many of the things that got teased in the Marvel Legacy one-shot did come up in Marvel Legacy. It's coming up now during Marvel Fresh Start. It almost feels like we would all be way more excited for Marvel Fresh Start and have a far more positive attitude towards it if Marvel had just chilled out for another 6 months and had not put out Marvel Legacy and all the lenticular covers and renumbered all the books again and tried to do a soft relaunch there with that. If they had just backed up and said, you know what, let the books that we have out just stay out for a while, don't touch anything, then we put out this big one-shot and then we change all these writers around. I feel like we all would have been way happier with that. Marvel just kind of jumped the gun with it. But that's a whole other issue there. But yeah, Ta-Nehisi Coates staying on there is going to deal with all that space stuff that they tease in Marvel Legacy. And Acuna is going to be the artist on here. Yeah, man, you want to do some crazy, trippy space stuff? That is the artist to go with. Now, the next book that they announced felt like an odd book to be one of the major books that you announced. It felt like this is one of the ones that they would typically have held off on for a while. Like maybe announce the new Captain America first, announce the new Iron Man first, announce the new Spiderman first. The next book that they announced was Venom, which, yeah, my relationship with Venom is kind of weird. I loved him when I was a kid. I thought he was an amazing villain, one of my favorite characters out there. But as I got older, my enthusiasm towards Venom kind of slowly declined, and it feels like so did a lot of people's, because they kept trying to do new stuff with him over and over and over again, and none of it really stuck until they gave the symbiote to Flash Thompson, and I love that. That re-energized my love for that character, and then, you know, the book eventually kind of fizzled out and faded away, which, you know, hey, that's going to happen. That's just what happens with a Venom title. Venom will always get really strong audiences for a few years, and then it just kind of fizzles out, and that's what happened. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But Marvel didn't want to let that stand, so they kept trying to make the Flash Thompson Venom a huge thing again, and I was just sitting there like, no, guys, he is kind of a huge thing. He's got a fan base. Just chill. Just let him pop up every now and again. In a few years he can come back. It'll be great. No, we have to shove him on the Guardians of the Galaxy and completely change his character around. We have to take all those cool ideas that we introduced in the Flash Thompson Venom book and completely get rid of them. And then they decide, oh, that doesn't really work. Let's bring back all those cool ideas and completely undo the idea that we just did. It got so weird, the stuff they were doing with Flash Thompson Venom. And then they decided to start a brand new Venom book in which some brand new guy got the Venom symbiote, and it was going back to all that old Venom stuff where he was kind of a villainous character. And yeah, I didn't care about that. I kept looking at it, it's like, so he goes back to Flash Thompson at the end of all this, right? And you kind of get like a soft Flash Thompson reboot, where's all the stuff that I was enjoying about Flash Thompson before? No. Well, then who is getting the symbiote now? Oh, it's back to Eddie Brock. I thought Eddie Brock was a really cool character for a while, but again, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, almost all your stories have been told, man. I don't really have any other interest in seeing the further adventures of Eddie Brock, and I decided to give it a try. When he came back as Venom, I decided to check that book out. I wanted to see what they could do with him. And yeah, man, I really did not like the new Venom book. And I held in there for a while. When they came back with issue 150, I checked it out, didn't enjoy it. Then when they came back with Marvel Legacy, I checked it out again, held on for a couple issues. Man, I thought it was stupid. I really did. I'm sorry, guys. I know it has its fans, which was shocking to me because I have had to learn the lesson that the sales at my store do not reflect the sales of the rest of the nation, because Venom at my store doesn't sell at all. We will put a stack of that book on the wall and just watch it there. We will watch cobwebs forming on that. And I kept thinking, yeah, man, this clearly isn't selling. Then I checked the official sales, and it's in like the 30,000s. I was like, dear God, what does the rest of the country see in this book? I do not enjoy the current Venom book. And honestly, I don't care about Eddie Brock as Venom. I want to go back to Flash Thompson. Yeah, there is nothing here in this book that I care about. And there is nobody who they could put on this book to make me interested in a Venom book again. It's going to be written by Donny Cates and drawn by Ryan Stegman. I care about this Venom book now. Yeah, I'm sorry if I was extra harsh on Venom there, but those are kind of my feelings. I've said this many times. I want to see comics move forward. I want to see these characters' stories have an end point at some point and see the mantle get passed on to someone else. And Flash Thompson was an awesome next Venom. And taking it back to Eddie Brock, I was like, wow, this is such a step backwards. And I don't care at all about this, but goddammit, you give Donny Cates a book I'm interested in. And honestly, I think Venom is an awesome choice for Donny Cates. Donny Cates, for anybody who has not watched the show before, he is like my go-to indie writer out there. He has written some of my favorite stuff over the past couple of years, and now that he's come to Marvel, I've been loving everything he's been doing. His Doctor Strange book has been blowing me away. Thanos! Oh my god, I was not interested in a Thanos book, and his Thanos book is so freaking good. So if you give that guy Venom, and apparently he is also like a closet Spider-Man fan, like he is apparently a huge Spidey fan and he just never talks about it. So you're gonna give him Venom, another villainous character like Thanos who I just didn't care about, and it's a character who he kind of does care about apparently, and you're putting Ryan Stegman, a guy who just draws Spidey related characters insanely well. Oh my god, dang it. This right here is the embodiment of what is working for Fresh Start. It's putting the exact right creators on a book to make me suddenly care about that book. Next up, speaking of characters that I stopped caring about a long time ago, Bruce Banner is coming back from the dead. Yes, much like a Marvel relaunch, for the third time within a year, he is coming back from the dead with a brand new series called The Immortal Hulk. And yeah, man, I don't care about Bruce Banner. I know that he has his fans out there, and I cared about him for a long period of time. I think that he is an amazing character. Don't get me wrong, just because I'm saying I don't care about him doesn't mean that I don't think he's a good character. Bruce Banner is one of the most tortured, complex characters in comics, but as I said, I don't want to just see comics constantly going back and doing the same stuff over and over again. Have you guys been checking out that new series, that new line of new heroes that DC has been putting out, which almost every single one of them is meant to be like a challenge to Marvel, like a, hey, you're not writing about the Fantastic Four, well, we're gonna write about the Terrifics. You're not writing about the Hulk anymore, we're gonna write about Damage. So many of their characters are meant to be characters that Marvel isn't really doing that well at the moment, so they're trying to grab that audience from them, and they created this character Damage, who is nothing but the Hulk. It's a big, brutish character with a split personality and transforms into a giant monster, and he's being hunted by the government. It's the classic Hulk stuff. I picked up that book and I went, yes, this is very much the classic Hulk stuff. And it's reminding me why I don't want to read that anymore. Because, dear God, I've been reading this story for decades. Bruce Banner on the run from the government. I've read that story so many freaking times now. I don't want to read it again. But there is a twist to this version of the Hulk. It's now called The Immortal Hulk. And the plot twist is that now, anytime that Bruce Banner dies, he comes back as the Hulk, and he's bigger and meaner and angrier than ever. And this is basically just going to be a story about people killing Bruce Banner over and over again. Or Bruce Banner trying to find a way to die because he was happy that he didn't have to deal with this crap anymore. And now he's come back to life. And every time that he keeps dying, he keeps coming back as this big monster. That's actually a really darn good twist. That's actually pretty interesting. And it's being written by Al Ewing, and Al Ewing has flat out said this is going to be a horror book again. And he's been posting on Twitter over and over and over again over the past couple of weeks old screenshots of classic Hulk books when this book was meant to be a horror series. That's something that a lot of people don't really realize. The Hulk was not created to be a superhero. The Hulk was created back when Marvel was doing tons of monster horror books, and he was just meant to be another one of those. He was meant to be, oh, I'm this big creature, but I'm a tiny man at the same time who can't control turning into the big monster. He says he basically wants to go back to that. He wants to go back to when the Hulk was a horror creature. You guys know me. I am a massive horror fan. I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen here. And also, Al Ewing is one of the most creative writers working at Marvel right now. I want to see what he's going to end up doing with the Hulk. Next up is another book that I am halfway excited for, but also kind of halfway miffed at. But the reason I'm miffed at is completely different than the other reasons I was kind of miffed at those other books, so I'll get to that in a second. Doctor Strange is going to now be written by Mark Waid. Mark Waid, that's kind of an interesting choice. Mark Waid has done tons of stuff in the past that makes me think, oh, he could actually do a pretty good Doctor Strange. And yeah, I didn't really enjoy his Avengers stuff. I think his Champions book is a little bit meh. It's kind of... His Champions and his Avengers aren't bad. They're just very, very okay. And both those books shouldn't just be okay. They need to really knock it out of the park. But the thing that Mark Waid does knock out of the park is when he gets to write single characters and just do long character studies on them. His Daredevil run, his Black Widow run, his current Captain America books, all those have been great. Granted, he's also been working with Chris Samney on those books, so it could be that when he works with that particular artist, they do just have a great one-on-one relationship and they understand the character very well together. So who can say? But yeah, I'm actually really intrigued to see what he'll do with Doctor Strange. And the storyline so far that we know is that Doctor Strange is going to space. Okay. We've seen him in space before, but it was more kind of just like, hey, I teleported in here for one adventure and then I'm back home. This is going to be like the entire premise of the book. It's him blasting off to space. It's astronaut Doctor Strange. That's something new. We haven't really seen that before. So okay, I'm down. So why am I miffed? Because currently, for Marvel Legacy, the new writer that they put on that book was Donny Cates. Rewind a couple minutes. Hear how much I praise Donny Cates. I freaking love Donny Cates. He is my go-to indie writer out there, and he is quickly becoming my go-to Marvel writer out there. I love that guy. I've been championing him for years, and I think his Doctor Strange run has been fantastic. And if you read his series, The Paybacks, which is one of my most underrated superhero books of all time, you can tell Donny Cates loved Doctor Strange. He has created several characters in his indie book that have been basically love letters to Doctor Strange. He finally got to write Doctor Strange. The book sold very well. Why are you immediately kicking him off of Doctor Strange? I mean, yes, I know you're moving all these writers around, but some of these writers are going to stay, and Donny Cates just started on Doctor Strange. Can't you give him a few more years to really keep doing Doctor Strange? See what he has in mind? I don't know, maybe he just had one storyline in mind. That was it. And he wrote it, and then he's like, yeah, that's my thing, I'm out. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe Donny Cates wanted off the book. But man, yeah, I just wanted to keep seeing Donny Cates. But hey, Mark Waid, I'm very intrigued to see what he's going to do on the title. Speaking of Mark Waid and Donny Cates, I'm going to cover two miniseries that Marvel also announced. They announced AntMan Wasp, which is going to be a team-up between Scott Lang and Nadia Pym. I actually find this to be very interesting because we have yet to actually see those two actually pair up. And Scott Lang, you know, he was kind of the protege of Nadia Pym's father, so I find it very interesting to see that this is a couple that we have never seen actually team up, so I want to see what kind of a relationship that they're going to have. Because Nadia Pym, you know, she's fun, she's quirky, but she is also very professional and very much about science. Scott Lang is just a massive screw-up, so I would find it interesting to see how Nadia feels about Scott. How is she going to feel that this is the person that my father trained and he is just a giant screw up, whereas I worked my butt off to become the best that I possibly can be? You know, that's going to be an issue for her, I think. But, you know, it's going to be fun watching them actually come together and bond. It's only 5 issues long, which, hey, I actually think is a good idea. This is something that Marvel is actually trying more of. They're trying to do more miniseries rather than just giving everyone an ongoing series, which I actually know some people who have kind of an inside connection at Marvel, and they have told me that the way that Marvel has been running things for the past couple of years is that everything is a mini-series. They give everyone only 6 issues to write their story. However, if the book is selling well enough, they'll just let it keep going for as long as it possibly can go. And I understand why they think that's a good idea, because then, hey man, anything could become an ongoing series. Anything at all. We're not going to place any restrictions or limitations on anybody. I get why that sounds like a good idea, but the problem is that then when a book that you, in your mind, was like, yeah, it's only going to be a miniseries, end up canceling without telling the public it was just going to be a miniseries, it makes the public think, wow, look at all these Marvel books that keep getting canceled over and over again. So now it looks like Marvel, they're still going to be doing this, except now they're flat out telling the audience, yeah, it's only 5 issues. If it sells better than that, maybe we'll bring it back as ongoing. But we're now starting to put our foot down on the idea of miniseries. Everything doesn't just get to be an ongoing series. I think that's actually a really darn good idea, because not only does it let the regular audience out there look at this like, okay, that book wasn't canceled, it just hit the end of its run. Which is the excuse that Marvel kept using over and over and over again when a book did get canceled. It's like, no, that book was only meant to go for that long. Well, then maybe you should have told us that at issue 1 so it doesn't look like the book got canceled, because that's kind of bad press for you. This is a far better way of letting everyone know how your books are structured. The other main series I want to talk about real quick is Cosmic Ghost Rider. It was a character that was created in the Donny Cates Thanos run and is going to be written by Donny Cates, which is really the only reason I'm kind of looking forward to this, because yeah, Cosmic Ghost Rider is a really cool character in the Thanos book, but I don't know if I would trust him just being handed off to any other writer. But Donny Cates is going to continue writing him, so it's like, alright, the fun, wacky character that is the Cosmic Ghost Rider over in the Thanos book, we're going to get to see that character explored further in his own miniseries. That's fine. But I really hope this doesn't become an ongoing series, because we don't need that many more Ghost Riders out there. Especially weird alternate future space Herald of Galactus Ghost Riders. That's a really cool concept for a miniseries. Keep it as a miniseries. Although it is being drawn by Mike Deodato Jr. and Mike Deodato Jr., some people love him, some people hate him. I'm kind of right in the middle on him. I think the dude does really good noir stuff. Like really good dark shadows, really grisly characters. But Marvel keeps putting him on like space books or really giant superhero brawl books. I don't think that's where his strength lies. Now there's one other miniseries that Marvel has already gone ahead and announced, and it is Multiple Man by Matthew Rosenberg. And I am very torn on this book, because on the one hand, I love Matthew Rosenberg. He's right up there with Donny Cates as one of my favorite rising stars over at Marvel right now, so I love seeing Marvel hand him more books, especially X-Men books, because if you read anything from Matthew Rosenberg, it is very obvious he loves the X-Men, and I love Multiple Man. He is my favorite mutant. For anybody out there who has never read the Peter David X-Factor run, where Jamie Madrox, the Multiple Man, opens up his own private eye company, go ahead and read that. It's one of the best runs on any team book I have ever read in my life. I freaking love that series, and it made me really appreciate the character of Multiple Man. And that book ended with Jamie Madrox saying, I'm hanging it up. I am done being a superhero. I got this permanent tattoo on my eye that reminds me of all the stuff that I've been through, but I'm going to move into a farm with my wife, and we're going to have a kid, and we're never going to do superhero stuff again. And then he popped up a few years later over in the Death of X series where they killed him off. And I looked at that and said, that is absolute BS. There is no reason to kill that character off. I wasn't just saying that because it was my favorite mutant. I was saying that because that was just a really dumb decision. This is a character who, as I said he quit. He wasn't going to do the superhero stuff anymore. He wasn't going to work with any of the X-Men groups anymore. And here he was, doing the superhero stuff, working with an X-Men group, and he also didn't have the M tattoo on his eye anymore, which he said could never ever be removed. I looked at that and went, this can't even be Jamie. Like, it can't even be the Multiple Man anymore. I came in here with this whole video about how, yeah, guys, it doesn't make sense at all. The only way that this can actually work is if that was a duplicate that was made before he quit, and now the real Jamie is still on that farm, not involved in any of this crazy stuff, and he is there with his wife and his kid, and some duplicate of his who thought he was the real one just died over there in the Death of X book. That's the only way that can possibly make any sense. So you would think, with me being that big a fan of Multiple Man, and me being that miffed at the way that they killed him off, and me loving this writer so much, I would be really excited for this book to come in here and go, hey, that death didn't happen. Jamie's still alive. It's all right, everybody. Here's why I'm really nervous about this book. Matthew Rosenberg went on Twitter and said, yeah, that death still happened, and we can't pretend like it didn't happen. We can't undo it. It's kind of a complicated situation. That's all he said, and I understand he can't say anything more. I understand that. But it did make me look at that and go, what the hell does that mean? Oh God, what are you going to do to Jamie? Again, I trust Matthew Rosenberg. He loves these characters, especially X-Men characters, and I think he is a perfect match to write the weird, quirky humor of Jamie Madrox, to write the Multiple Man. I think he is a great fit. But yeah, what did that mean? What do you mean you can't undo the death? What do you mean it still happened? Do you mean it still happened but to a duplicate and he's still okay? Why does he not have the big M tattoo on his eye on that cover? What is happening in this book? So yes, I'm looking forward to it because it's one of my favorite writers writing one of my favorite characters. But how is this going to tie into all that other crazy stuff? And this isn't me coming in here and just going, oh, well, then that means that my theory didn't work, so that's why I'm not okay with this. No, it's not that at all. I realize I'm just some idiot on the internet. It's me just looking at it like, oh God, you guys kind of screwed him over with the way that you killed him. If that death still happened, what is going to happen to him now? Next up, I think I just said that was the last miniseries. I thought this one was going to be ongoing. I had to go back and double check it. It is actually another miniseries that they've announced. The Life of Captain Marvel. Now, Captain Marvel, she does not at the moment have an ongoing series announced. What I think they're going to do, this is going to be a 5-issue miniseries, and she has a movie coming out next year. If I had to take a guess, I'd say they're not going to give her an ongoing series until after this miniseries is over with. Then they'll probably wait a few months. Then they'll launch the brand new #1 when it gets a little bit closer to her movie coming out, which honestly makes sense to me because at the moment in Marvel Fresh Start, they're giving everything brand new #1s, but you know they're going to give her a #1 when the movie comes out. And that would just be too much. #1 goes for a few months and it's canceled, but brand new #1 all over again. I honestly think it is a smart idea to just give her a mini-series at the moment, and then when the actual movie comes out, that's when the ongoing comes out. But yes, this 5-issue miniseries is basically going to explore the origin of Captain Marvel, which I actually think is a good idea because Marvel is really trying to push her as a big name character, but a lot of people still don't know her origin story, and if they do, it's typically just been explored really quickly here and there. She's never really had that big get into her whole backstory kind of origin story, so it seems appropriate that they would finally do that for her character. My only problem is that it's being drawn by Carlos Pacheco, and I really like Carlos Pacheco. I grew up really digging his stuff, so I'm happy to see him on this book, and he does big superhero flying around, saving the day kind of stuff really well, so great. I think he is a perfect fit for this book. But still being written by Marguerite Stoll, and listen, Marguerite Stoll, she's a perfectly fine writer, but I don't think she's very good on Captain Marvel. At best, her Captain Marvel has been, it's alright, it's okay. And Captain Marvel is a character who at the moment does not need okay, because Kelly Sue DeConn came in, wrote Captain Marvel, and teed her up. She got that character on the green, and then Marvel came in and they made her the head of Alpha Flight, the head of their whole big space division. Oh, that's great. That's pulling out the putter. That's getting it right lined up to go into the hole. And then Civil War II came in, threw that putter away, grabbed the wedge, and chucked it right into the sand trap. Marguerite Stoll, she is perfectly fine, but she hasn't been able to get Captain Marvel out of that sand trap. Also, I don't play golf, so I hope that all those terms were actually correct. So I was hoping with this brand new series, and with all these writers being moved around at Marvel, we'd be getting a brand new writer on Captain Marvel. maybe Kelly Thompson, maybe Rainbow Rowell, maybe Mariko Tamaki. T. Willow Wilson has been writing Miss Marvel incredibly well for years now. Seems like it would only be fair to finally give her a shot at Captain Marvel, but I mean, that's just me. So I'm kind of hoping that this is sort of Marguerite Stoll's goodbye to Captain Marvel, that she writes the origin story and then says, alright, time for someone else to take this over when the movie comes out. And then when the official #1 ongoing series comes out next year, that's when we get someone else in there. But at the moment, you know, this is different from what she has been writing on Captain Marvel so far. This is going to be more of a personal story about her family and about growing up. So you know what? That's different than what she has been writing, so I'm still totally willing to give this a shot. This might be the thing that she does incredibly well on Captain Marvel. This could be the thing that totally turns it around. So I am a little bit miffed that they aren't getting someone new in there, but I am still totally willing to say, you know what? This could be the thing that she nails. This could be the thing that she does incredibly well, so I'm still going to check it out. Next up is Thor, and it is still being written by Jason Aaron, and thank Asgard for that one, because his run on Thor is going to go down in history not just as one of the best creator runs on Thor, but one of the best creator runs on any character. That book has been treating this character spectacularly. His run on God of Thunder when it was Thor Odinson was great. His run on Mighty Thor when it was Jane Foster was just as good. And throughout all this time, over the course of all these years, he has slowly been building up this story of the war for the 10 realms, and it is about to explode. And this is the thing that I love seeing when you get a writer on a book who is able to nail everything in that series, but they're also willing to set up long storylines. I keep saying I want to see more long storylines playing out in comics, because that's the stuff that keeps me coming back for more and more and more. And yeah, Jason Aaron's not going anywhere, because he still has to have the War for the 10 Realms. He's been building that story up for over 5 years at this point. However, the storyline that he's going to be doing is not the War for the 10 Realms. Not yet. Not yet. The first storyline that he's doing in this, apparently, it's kind of a spoiler here, so sorry everyone. They reveal that at the end of the Jane Foster Mighty Thor run, Asgard is basically going to be destroyed, and all the magical weapons that have been held in Asgard are going to be scattered across the cosmos. So this series is going to be about Thor having to go around and collect all of those magical items. That's a really cool idea. I think that is a fantastic premise for this book. But it does raise the question, okay, how much longer do I have to wait for the War for the 10 Realms? Again, he has done amazing setup for this event. This storyline, he has been carefully crafting every single piece of it. So maybe this is just another piece. Maybe it's going to be Malekith and his army having to go and collect these items as well. Thor has to go and collect them first. This great race against time to see who gets which item first. That is a great premise for a book. But man, I thought we were ready for the War for the 10 Realms. So Jason Aaron is like, no. I still have years before we get to that. So, okay. I'm just kind of curious, how much more build-up is there to the War for the 10 Realms? Also, the book is being drawn by Mike Del Mundo, and I am very intrigued to see what this book is going to look like. Because, as I said, Mike Del Mundo is one of the best artists in the industry right now, but his specialty is crazy magical stuff. He's not the best at big superhero brawls, and Thor is both of those things equally. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in the combination of the two. Next up is Captain America. It seems kind of odd that Mark Waid is immediately leaving this book. Like, it felt like he came in here, just kind of cleaned things up after Nick Spencer did the whole Secret Empire thing, and now he's out. I thought he was going to be sticking around for a while, but I guess not, because they are going to have Lionel Yu on as the artist, which, Lionel Yu, great artist. He hasn't been doing an ongoing series for a while. I'm very happy to see him on this. And the writer is Ta-Nehisi Coates, who is a very bold choice, and I was not expecting that, and I applaud Marvel for this so much. Because Ta-Nehisi Coates is a writer who, he works for The Atlantic, and he does lots of political commentary and political news over at The Atlantic. You're gonna put that guy on Captain America? Yeah, sign me up. I am very intrigued, but he is also a very serious writer, and I feel like people aren't ready for super serious Captain America yet. That's one of the reasons why they were applauding Mark Waid's run on the character so much, even though it's only been like 5 issues. They've been loving it so much simply because it was like, yes, hey, I'm happy-go-lucky Captain America again, and I'm just going to be the friendly guy next door. I think people just wanted that for a while, so I don't know how people are going to react to seeing the super serious Captain America come back and having it deal with some political issues again. I'm all on board. I love that stuff in my Captain America book. But I am curious to see how the general public is going to react. But I learned a long time ago, I really don't care what the general public thinks. I just enjoy the books that I enjoy. And I think I'm going to enjoy this. Next up, speaking of Captain America and Secret Empire, let's go ahead and get into Amazing Spider-Man, which is going to be drawn by Ryan Ottley, who for years was doing Invincible and pretty much nothing else. That's really the only ongoing series he's ever done, aside from a few other small creator-owned projects. And I've seen him draw Spider-Man at conventions over and over and over again. So the fact that he's now actually on this book ongoing, that is an amazing grab. That is the perfect artist to get on this book. I already saw some early work for this series. Not even of Spider-Man just swinging around, just a page of Peter in his apartment talking to someone at the door, and I went, oh my god, he is perfect on this book. So that artist is great, and I don't think anyone is arguing that. However, the writer on this book is Nick Spencer. I think that is an amazing choice. I think that is the perfect writer to put on there as far as the longtime big name writers at Marvel go. And I know you guys disagree with me on that because after I said this on Twitter, I have been getting torn apart for weeks now on both Twitter and Tumblr of people telling me that that is a horrible opinion and they think I'm an idiot for feeling that way. Come in here. I got a secret. I got a secret for you. Come in. Come in real close. I don't give a what you think. Alright, that was mean-spirited. I'm sorry. I do actually care what you guys think. I do want to hear your opinions as well. But man, the amount of just venom that just got spewed in my direction from every corner of social media, just from me saying I think Nick Spencer is a good choice for this book, was so massive. I can only imagine the kind of crap that Nick Spencer gets on a daily basis just for being Nick Spencer. Which is one of the reasons I think he's the perfect guy to write Peter Parker. Yeah, alright, let's back up a little bit, because let's be honest, the vast majority of the people who hate Nick Spencer don't know anything he's done aside from Captain America. I did get a few people contacting me saying I didn't like his run on this book and I didn't like his run on this book. So okay, I'm not saying everyone out there only knows him from Captain America, but the vast majority of people who I have seen hating on him only know him from Captain America. So I'm going to go ahead and give you some of his backstory and some of the other books he did aside from Captain America. But before I get into that, let's just go ahead and remember what recently happened to Peter Parker. This is a guy who had the biggest opportunity of his life. He was running Parker Industries and he meant well with Parker Industries, but it all blew up in his face and now the entire world hates him. Think about Nick Spencer's run on Captain America. Captain America was a character he wanted to write for years. It was his dream. He finally got, and it blew up huge. It became this big deal, became a massive event, and it all kind of crumbled away, and now the entire comic reading community hates him. I cannot think of any writer out there who can understand Peter Parker's mindset right now more than Nick Spencer. But also, here are the other reasons why I am very excited for Nick Spencer to be on this book. Nick Spencer, before he got his opportunity to write the really big characters like Captain America, he wrote the schlubs. He wrote the street-level loser guys in a book called The Superior Foes of Spider-Man, which was a book about Spider-Man's biggest loser villains trying to pull one massive heist. It was Boomerang, the Shocker, the new Beetle, Overdrive, Speed Demon, and nobody else, because one of the running gags in that book is that the Secret Six should not have 6 members. It should have only 5, because then everyone will wonder who the Secret Six member is. I think I said Secret Six, Sinister Six. And that book was amazing, and one of the things that someone has to understand about Spider-Man is that Spider-Man is a street-level hero. Yes, I know over the past couple years they have turned him into the big, massive, major A-class hero, running major companies, being an Avenger, what Spidey is at his heart, at the core of his character, he is a street level character. He is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And also, he's the average Joe. That is the entire point of Peter Parker. That's the entire point of Spider-Man. He's just like all of us. He deals with all the crap that we deal with. He has to pay the bills. He has to do all the average Joe things that we struggle with every single day. Nick Spencer understands that. When you read his books like Superior Foes, The Fix over at Image, this is a guy who understands average Joe characters. But he also has an amazing sense of humor, which a good Spider-Man book should have. But it should understand the exact type of humor that Spider-Man has. That's been one of my problems with Dan Slott. He makes him too slapsticky, way too goofy, way too incompetent. Spider-Man's sense of humor is more of just the average Joe level of humor. It is that humor of, oh god, just this crap again. Just day after day, this same crap keeps pouring down on me. That's what Superior Foes was. Superior Foes, it was very much that type of humor. It was kind of raunchy because it was the villains. It was kind of crude because it was the villains. But yeah, it let me know, okay, it's in the correct direction for Spider-Man's sense of humor. Hell, even when you look over at his Captain America run, forget Steve Rogers, go with his Sam Wilson run on that book. It was very much, hey man, I'm the average Joe. I am struggling with stuff. One of the biggest problems that Sam Wilson had to fight was he was out of money. No one wanted to fund him being Captain America. That's basically been Peter Parker's biggest problem throughout his entire life. Yeah, Nick Spencer has written so many books in his life that make me go, yeah, he is a perfect fit for this style. And yeah, he's written other books that I didn't care for that much. I didn't really care for his Steve Rogers Captain America. I didn't really care for his Secret Avengers. But Steve Rogers and the Secret Avengers shouldn't be even remotely close to Spider-Man. The Superior Foes and Sam Wilson, they're pretty close to Spider-Man. So I'm actually really excited for this. And of course, I have yet to mention the biggest reason why I think he is the perfect match for Spider-Man, his run on Ant-Man. If you have never read his run on Ant-Man, it almost feels like an audition to write Spider-Man. It's all those things I mentioned. It's the down on his luck guy, super relatable. It's got tons of humor, but also tons of heart. A small neighborhood full of lovable goofball characters. It's kind of everything I want from a Spider-Man book, and he nailed it on that series. And I've had so many people contacting me and saying, yeah, but look at what he did to Captain America. Guys, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think he's going to have, I don't know, some supervillain take over Spider-Man's body and do horrible stuff with him? Oh my goodness, why on earth would anyone do that? Oh right, it already happened. So guess what? Not only would Nick Spencer not do that on this character because he already did it with another character and it turned out incredibly poorly for him, so yeah, he's very much learned his lesson on that. He also wouldn't do it on this book because it already happened. Why on earth would he go and try and do something similar to what he did with Captain America with a character who had that exact thing just happen to him? So everybody just calm the fudge down. This is a writer who has proved on several other titles that he can write characters exactly like Spider-Man, that he can capture that sense of humor, that he can capture a character in these types of situations that Spider-Man always runs into. He is not going to do the crazy stuff like he did with Steve Rogers, where he creates an evil alternate reality version of Spider-Man with the Cosmic Cube and then has Spidey be replaced by him. That stuff isn't going to happen. He's just going to have Spidey be Spidey for a couple issues. Everybody calm down on this. That being said, I probably still won't end up reading it because Spidey still isn't together with Mary Jane. So there's that. Yeah, isn't it weird that Marvel is trying so hard to backpedal and go back to the way that Marvel was a couple of years ago, but they're still not willing to unite Mary Jane and Spider-Man? That's still just completely off the table? That's a rant for another day. Speaking of Spider-Man, Dan Slott is finally leaving that title and he is moving on to something new, and he's going to be writing Iron Man, and I am very intrigued by this. Because Dan Slott, he's known for his sense of humor, but I didn't really think that sense of humor really worked over on Spider-Man. I don't think he wrote Spider-Man the way that you should write Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man is a guy who's down on his luck. Dan Slott kind of wrote him just as a loser. Now he's going to be writing Iron Man. Iron Man is not a loser. In fact, that's kind of the entire point behind Tony Stark's character. He's an arrogant guy who's always winning. So I would be very intrigued to see Dan Slott write someone completely different from Peter Parker. And they said that some of the influences for his run is going to be like Black Mirror, and it's also going to be like anime stuff like Voltron. Okay, I'm totally intrigued by this now. So yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this, except that, man, it's really good to be excited for a Dan Slott book again. Next one, real quickly, just going to talk about this. Deadpool getting a brand new #1, and it's going to be written by Skottie Young. This is probably a really good choice. Don't get me wrong, I can probably think of some other writers out there who could probably do a better job with Deadpool than Skottie Young, but Skottie Young will definitely do a solid job with it. He understands really crazy, gruesome humor. He's been doing that for years over at Image with his I Hate Fairyland book. So yeah, he has shown that he can do the type of humor that is suitable for a Deadpool book. But the reason why Skottie Young is probably the smartest choice for this book isn't just because he has shown that he can write these types of stories, it's because he's a name. He is a huge name in the industry, and yeah, as I said, Marvel need to come in here after Bendis left and remind people, we still have huge names working for us. So that's why he is probably the best choice to actually write this book. It is sad seeing Jerry Dugan go, or Jerry Duggan. I got into this conversation recently on another show. Yeah, I still don't know how to pronounce his name. But it is sad to see Jerry Dugan go because I think that no one has written Deadpool better in probably my entire lifetime than he did. But you can't keep him on that book forever. He does have to eventually leave. And you know, that's kind of what Marvel Fresh Start is all about. It's kind of about, hey, those guys who have been on these books forever, it's time that we finally get new people in here. So, you know what? I'm cool with that. And the last book that I'm going to talk about was probably the biggest surprise out of any of these titles. For anybody who has not been reading the Doctor Strange book, The Sentry recently came back, which was a huge shock. And Marvel is going to have Jeff Lemire write a new Sentry series. And I am so excited for this. Because Jeff Lemire, half the stuff he's done at Marvel has been, it's not that great. But the other half has been stunning. And the stunning stuff has been the really psychedelic, human drama, like just character building, character study kind of stuff, like he did with Moon Knight. Moon Knight, a character who suffers from mental disorders. You know who also suffers from mental disorders? The Sentry. So that actually seems like a perfect fit. You're going to get the guy who wrote a book all about Moon Knight going through a journey in a psych ward that turned into his trip into the underworld in Egyptian mythology in order to save all of New York from Egyptian gods. You're going to have that guy write the dude who also suffers from split personalities and bipolar disorder and agoraphobia, and yet has the power of 1,000 exploding suns? Yeah. He is the perfect guy to put on that book. So that's it. You guys will have to forgive me if I started to run out of steam there towards the end, if I did just kind of race through those last couple of books, and if I did just start to dissolve as I said every word, because wow, this episode was long. It's been a while since we did an episode like this. But you know what? I think that's actually good news for Marvel, because back when Marvel used to do all these relaunches, I did stuff like this where I came in here and I talked about every single book. I covered every single title and every single writer on every single book. We haven't done that for a few years because none of the relaunches really got me excited. Yeah, I am still miffed that's another relaunch. I am still just so tired of having to see that #1 over and over and over again. But if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it right. I am so excited by the books that they're putting out right now. It looks like a damn good relaunch. So yes, let me know what you think about each of these titles in the comments down below or on Twitter and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. And make sure that you click that subscribe button and share this video around the web. It's the best way to help this channel grow. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.